The United States is full of small, quiet towns hidden in the shadows of dense forests and rolling hills. But among all the legends of sleepier places, none carries a chill quite like the town of Centralia, Pennsylvania, a real place, but one wrapped in a ghostly, eternal fog. Here is a story inspired by the eerie, smoking streets of America's most famous ghost town. The Embers of Centralia. The town that smoked. To the rest of the world, Centralia was a tragedy. In 1962, an accidental landfill fire ignited a massive coal seam deep beneath the earth. The town literally caught fire from below. For decades, the ground grew hotter, toxic gases bled through the asphalt, and the government eventually evacuated almost everyone, erasing the zip code from the map. But to Nora Vance, Centralia was a mystery that demanded to be solved. Nora was an investigative journalist from Philadelphia who specialized in modern folklore. She knew the official history, but she had also read the dark corners of the internet. The forums spoke of things that didn't align with a simple mind fire. They spoke of the ashen walkers, figures seen moving through the thick sulfuric smoke, and the bizarre acoustic anomalies where the ground seemed to hum in a rhythmic, beating cadence. Equipped with a high-end camera, a digital recorder, and a heavy-duty respirator, Nora drove her SUV past the warning signs. The state highway collapsed into buckled waves of asphalt, cracked open like a parched desert. She parked where Route 61 ended, swallowed by the encroaching forest. Stepping out, the first thing that hit her wasn't the silence, but the smell. It was a suffocating mix of rotten eggs, burnt rubber, and something ancient, like old, pressurized earth. White plumes of smoke snaked out of the cracked asphalt, drifting lazily into the gray afternoon sky. Graffiti highway and the whispering vents. Nora walked down the abandoned stretch known as the Graffiti Highway. Thousands of travelers had painted bright, neon names and symbols over the dead road, but the vibrant colors only made the surrounding skeletal trees look more dead. As she walked deeper into what used to be the town center, the temperature rose. Through the soles of her hiking boots, she could feel a dull, pulsing warmth. Testing, June 22nd. Nora spoke into her recorder, her voice muffled by her mask. I am standing near where St. Ignatius Church used to be. The air is thick. The ground temperature feels like it's at least 110 degrees Fahrenheit right through my shoes. There is no bird song. No wind. Just a low vibration. She stopped by a massive fissure in the earth, nearly 3 feet wide. Thick, white vapor billowed from it. Nora knelt down, pointing her camera into the abyss. As the lens autofocus clicked, her digital audio recorder suddenly spiked. The levels maxed out into the red, filling her headphones with a horrific static screech. Within the static, there was a sound. It didn't sound like escaping gas. It sounded like dozens of voices, layered over one another, chanting a single, rhythmic syllable. Dal, dal, dal. Nora pulled the headphones off, her heart hammering against her ribs. She looked around. The fog had thickened, dropping visibility to less than 10 feet. The bright neon graffiti on the road seemed to dim under the heavy, gray shroud. The last resident. You shouldn't be listening to the vents, girl. Nora jumped, nearly dropping her recorder. Out of the smoke stepped an old man. He wore a faded flannel shirt, grease-stained jeans, and no respirator. His skin was leathery and smudged with soot, but his eyes were a piercing, unnerving electric blue. I thought everyone was evacuated, Nora stammered, pulling her mask down slightly to speak. The government bought the houses, but they couldn't buy the land, the old man said, coughing a dry, raspy cough. Name's Thomas. I was a boy when the fire started. Everyone thinks we tried to put it out. We didn't. We opened it. Nora's journalistic instincts kicked in, overriding her fear. She subtly hit the record button again. What do you mean you opened it? It was a trash fire at the landfill. Thomas let out a bitter laugh, the sound like grinding stones. That's the story for the papers. Keeps the tourists from digging too deep. The town council in '62 didn't just dig a pit for trash. They dug into the old anthracite veins that the local tribes warned them never to touch. They said there was a living heat down there. The ashen shift. As Thomas spoke, the ground beneath them trembled. It wasn't a sharp earthquake, but a sickening, fluid lurch, as if the earth were a giant lung inhaling. The smoke emerging from the cracks shifted from a ghostly white to a deep, bruised charcoal gray. The temperature skyrocketed. Nora could feel sweat pouring down her face inside her mask. "It's getting late," Thomas whispered, his electric blue eyes widening. "The ashen shift is coming." When the sun goes down, the fire comes up to look around. "What are you talking about?" Nora asked, backing away toward the direction of her car. But through the thick, blackening smoke, the graffiti highway had vanished. The landscape looked entirely different, hilly, jagged, and terrifyingly unfamiliar. "The fire isn't just burning coal, Nora," Thomas said, knowing her name without her ever mentioning it. "It's burning time. It's burning the memories of everyone who ever lived here. Look!" Nora turned her head. Through the shifting veil of smoke, she saw a row of houses. They weren't ruined or demolished. They looked pristine, like a perfect 1960s suburb. Children were playing on the lawns, and a pristine red station wagon was parked in a driveway. But as she stared closer, she realized with horror that the children had no faces, just smooth, blank skin. And the smoke wasn't rising from chimneys. It was pouring out of their open, faceless mouths. "They are the fuel," Thomas whispered, his voice now sounding like it was coming from inside Nora's own head. "And anyone who stays too long becomes part of the coal." The escape. Panic took over. Nora turned and bolted into the smoke. She couldn't see her feet. The ground was scalding now. She could smell the rubber of her boots beginning to melt. Behind her, she heard footsteps. Not one pair, but dozens. Heavy, dragging steps crunching over the hot gravel. The static in her headphones, still hanging around her neck, blared violently. The faceless children, or the entities mimicking them, were chasing her. "Dal, Dal, Dal!" The wind seemed to scream. She tripped over a buckled piece of asphalt, crashing heavily onto the burning ground. She cried out as the heat scorched through her jeans. Looking up, she saw a figure towering over her in the smoke. It was Thomas, but his flannel shirt was gone, replaced by a body made entirely of glowing, red-hot embers, his blue eyes burning like gas flames. "The town needs to grow, Nora," the creature rumbled. "The fire is hungry." With a burst of adrenaline, Nora kicked out, her boots striking the glowing creature. It shattered like brittle charcoal, releasing a burst of blinding heat and blinding ash. Nora scrambled to her feet, choking, blind, and disoriented. She ran blindly toward a faint, metallic glint in the distance. She burst through a thick wall of sulfur smoke and literally slammed into the side of her SUV. She threw herself into the driver's seat, locked the doors, and cranked the engine. The car roared to life. She slammed the gas, peeling out over the cracked roads, not looking back until she passed the "Welcome to Columbia County" sign miles away. Epilogue: the recording. The next morning, sitting in a bright, crowded diner in safe, bustling Philadelphia, Nora finally found the courage to check her equipment. Her boots were ruined, their soles melted and warped. Her clothes smelled permanently of brimstone. She plugged her digital audio recorder into her laptop. She opened the file from Centralia. For the first 20 minutes, there was nothing but her own breathing and the crunch of gravel. Then came the part where she met Thomas. On the audio file, Nora's voice was clear. But Thomas's voice wasn't there. Whenever Thomas spoke on her tape, there was only the sound of a roaring furnace, and the unmistakable, terrifying sound of a human heart, beating loudly and heavily deep within the earth. The forgotten god of Shadow Valley. Deep in the remote deserts of the American Southwest, far from highways and cities, lies a place that locals call Shadow Valley. It is a land of towering red cliffs, endless silence, and strange stories that have been passed down for generations. Among all the legends of the valley, none is more terrifying than the tale of the forgotten god. According to old Native American stories, long before European settlers arrived in America, a mysterious deity known as Azhura was worshipped by a small tribe that lived in the canyon. Unlike gods who brought rain, harvests, or protection, Azhura was said to rule over shadows, secrets, and forgotten memories. The tribe believed that every secret ever hidden by mankind belonged to Azhura. If someone betrayed their people, lied to their family, or committed a terrible crime, the god would know. No secret could remain hidden from him. For centuries, the tribe offered gifts to Azhura at a stone temple carved into the canyon walls. They left precious stones, carved figures, and sacred objects in hopes of keeping the gods satisfied. Then one day, everything changed. According to legend, the tribe's chief became greedy. He stole sacred treasures that had been dedicated to Azhura and buried them for himself. When the people discovered the theft, fear spread throughout the village. That night, a violent storm unlike anything they had ever seen struck the valley. Lightning shattered the cliffs. The earth trembled beneath their feet. Witnesses claimed they saw a giant shadow moving through the canyon, taller than the tallest rock formations. By sunrise, the chief had vanished. His home stood empty. No footprints led away. No body was ever found. Only strange black markings remained on the walls of his dwelling. Terrified, the tribe abandoned the temple and left the valley forever. For hundreds of years, the story remained nothing more than a campfire tale. Then, in 1937, an explorer named Thomas Reed entered Shadow Valley searching for ancient ruins. He had heard rumors of a hidden temple and hoped to discover artifacts that would make him famous. After weeks of searching, Reed found something extraordinary. Hidden behind a narrow crack in the canyon wall was a massive stone chamber. The walls were covered in symbols unlike anything he had ever seen. At the center stood a towering statue nearly 15 feet tall. The statue depicted a human-like figure with a face concealed beneath a hood. Its eyes were carved as deep black holes. Strange symbols covered its body. Most disturbing of all, the statue appeared to have no shadow. No matter where Reed stood, no shadow could be seen beneath it. Convinced he had made a historic discovery, Reed took dozens of photographs and planned to return with a larger expedition. But he never returned. 3 days later, his campsite was found abandoned. His food remained untouched. His equipment was still there. Yet Thomas Reed had disappeared without a trace. The only thing missing was his journal. Authorities searched the area for weeks but found nothing. Years later, one of Reed's photographs surfaced in a museum archive. Historians noticed something unusual. In every image of the statue, a dark human-shaped figure appeared standing in the background. The figure was never noticed when the photographs were first developed. Even stranger, it appeared in different positions in each photograph, as if it had been moving. The mystery attracted treasure hunters, researchers, and paranormal investigators for decades. Many claimed to hear whispers echoing through the canyon at night. Others reported seeing shadows that moved against the direction of the sun. Several visitors described feeling as though someone was watching them from the cliffs. Some never returned. Today, no official records confirm the existence of Azhura's temple. Many historians dismiss the story as folklore mixed with exaggeration. Yet local residents still avoid Shadow Valley after dark. They warn travelers never to follow voices in the canyon, never to enter caves marked with black symbols, and most importantly, never speak your deepest secret aloud while standing alone in the valley. Because according to the legend, Azhura still listens, waiting in the shadows, collecting secrets, and searching for those who dare to disturb his forgotten kingdom. Some mysteries are meant to be solved. Others are meant to stay buried forever. New Moon Eye. The thunder god of Red Eagle Mountain. Long ago, in the wild lands of what is now the American Southwest, there stood a towering peak known as Red Eagle Mountain. The mountain was sacred to a native tribe that had lived there for countless generations. The elders spoke of a powerful deity called Wakinian, the thunder god. They believed Wakinian ruled the skies, controlled storms, and protected the balance between nature and mankind. Whenever thunder echoed across the mountains, the tribe said it was the voice of the gods speaking from the clouds. For centuries, the people honored Wakinian with ceremonies, songs, and offerings. And for centuries, the mountain remained peaceful. Until one summer, when a terrible drought struck the land. The rivers dried up. The crops withered. Animals disappeared into the distant wilderness. Weeks turned into months. The people prayed every day, but no rain came. Fear began to spread throughout the tribe. One night, a young hunter named Tahoma climbed Red Eagle Mountain alone. He was brave, but also desperate. His family was starving, and many children in the village had become weak from hunger. Determined to save his people, Tahoma decided to seek the thunder god himself. The climb was dangerous. Sharp rocks cut his hands. Cold winds pushed against him. Dark clouds gathered above the peak. Yet he continued upward. At midnight, Tahoma reached the summit. Suddenly, the sky exploded with lightning. A deafening thunderclap shook the mountain. Then something impossible appeared. A gigantic eagle made entirely of blue lightning descended from the clouds. Its wings stretched across the sky. Its eyes glowed brighter than the moon. Tahoma fell to his knees. The creature landed before him. The air crackled with energy. The eagle spoke in a voice like rolling thunder. "Why have you come, mortal?" Tahoma trembled but answered. "My people are dying. We need rain." For a moment, silence filled the mountain. Then the thunder god replied. "The balance has been broken." The eagle spread its glowing wings. Images appeared in the storm clouds. Tahoma saw hunters taking more animals than they needed. He saw sacred forests being cut down. He saw people wasting food and disrespecting nature. The tribe had forgotten the ancient laws. The drought was not a punishment. It was a warning. Tahoma understood. He promised that his people would restore the balance and honor the land once more. The thunder god stared at him for a long time. Then the great eagle rose into the sky. A bolt of lightning struck the mountain peak. The entire summit glowed blue. As Wakinian disappeared into the clouds, rain began to fall. At first, only a few drops. Then a steady shower. Then a mighty storm. The drought was over. Rivers filled once again. Crops began to grow. Animals returned to the valleys. Tahoma returned home and told the tribe everything he had witnessed. The people kept their promise.